Check, check, 1 1. So what we didn't check, what we didn't touch up on was the race. There was okay, so I'll just jump right in. Then the majority is 38% Nordic, like from the most northern hemisphere of the planet, the Nordic Circle of Sweden and Norway, mostly. But then there's Finnish in there too, Nordic Finnish, Nordic Swedish, Nordic Norwegian. So that makes up 38% of me. Nordic. It's not necessarily white, but you can mark them white. And if they inquired further, you might want to specify due to the resistance to hypothermia and frostbite, similar to what an African man with resistance to heat stroke, sunburn, etc. would be the Nordic man with snow and frost and cold and resistance to hypothermia. Right. So there was the Nordic thing, 38%. Nextly, it's Scottish Caucasian, 25%. That's the regular, ordinary European white bread, plain slate, uh, uh, blanco, yeah, whatever. 25%, and then down one notch there we have another rarity. It's well, besides Nordic, which I consider a rarity, although it might be as more popular on the other side of the ocean around here. Then there's not many Scandinavians, especially Nordic Scandinavians, within my arm's reach that I could find, or a stone's throw even, figuratively. Aryan, which would be a non-Germanic native Swiss for my great grandmother, is 12.5%. So you'll have to excuse the slang. I'm not part of the Nordic Powers People Party or any kind of Nazi affiliation. And by Aryan, I meant fair skin, blonde hair, blue eyes. The skin turns rosy, whatever. It's a different sort of Caucasian. The eyes will change color. The hair can change color. There's some kind of specialty pigment in the hair and the eyes, and a little bit in the skin. What has a more stranger skin pigment would be the 12.5% Lenni Lenape, which is an endangered native race, indigenous people to the United States of America, have found mostly in Connecticut, um, above the Algonquins, under the Mohawks. There was the Lenni Lenapes. Um, was the Lenni Lenapes. I think the census in the 90s, when they were putting together the Pequot and Mohegan reservations for that specific race of people, they had found 6,000 left alive, or something like 9,000 left alive in the New England area, and they put out a big call, and I'm sure they found more in propagated sense, but I'm only 12.5%, so I don't get the check from either tribe. It's a 15% minimum for heritage checks or any kind of tribal benefit. So the next 12.5% is Cherokee, which I'll find some black skin, some red skin, in the Mohegan and the Cherokee. Well, my great grandfather John Hyde, also known as John the Bull, was Mohegan, so I side with the Mohegan tribe. Cherokee comes from, and we're getting into the royalty aspect now, David Marshall, who had shaken hands with both Albert Einstein and John F. Kennedy. There's a biography about him found in public libraries across the country, especially in Montana. It's not as popular these days, but it was when he was around. On my Nordic side, there's a prominent Swedesman who shook hands with the King of Sweden and was an Oval Office advisor, on call volunteer for, say, close to 50 years after he got the Congressional Medal of Honor from a submarine voyage. The USS Seacat SS 399 left New London City and went to the surrender of Japan and then back again, a diesel nuclear submarine during World War II. There and back again, there was some casualties, like his brother, my granduncle William, who is lost to sea on the Long Island Sound. He didn't live until and see the D-Day WW3s or anything like that. So we have and then on the Scottish side, that's Lennon, like John Lennon from the Beatles, and Shepherd, like Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead. The same two Scottish families. He's cousin to both of them, although he passed away a few years ago. Um, so we touched on the Lennon Lenape, John the Bull, the Cherokee, David Marshall, the Scottish, which is Lennon Shepherd, the Aryan, which is Hoffman, and the Swedish, the Nordic, which the Norwegian side I couldn't find much. There was Werner, which was a World War One veteran that's prominent. He rode a Harley in World War One, which is nice. And then on the Finnish side, I couldn't find much either. And finally, the Swedish was the diesel sub. Yeah, I think we wrapped that up nice, and I'll call it about 5:15 or less. So check.